Welcome to the Business Prompt Engineering module. This module marks a major shift in the way you use AI. Up until now, you've learned the foundations, the structure, and the communication strategy behind effective prompting. Now, we turn all of that into a repeatable business advantage. In this module, we focus on workflows, systems, and practical application. Because prompting is not just about getting a good answer. Prompting is about creating a repeatable, scalable, and efficient system that supports your business operations, improves performance, and reduces the burden of decision making. By the end of this module, you will be able to understand the major categories of prompts and the patterns behind them. You will know how to create reusable prompt templates, build multi-step AI workflows, and classify prompts correctly based on their purpose. You will also learn how to turn everyday tasks into repeatable prompt systems that integrate into real business operations. This is where prompting becomes a strategic skill rather than a one-time action. Before we can build workflows and systems, we need to understand the underlying building blocks. Every business workflow is made up of prompt types. Every system is powered by intentional prompt patterns. So in this lesson, we're going to break down the major prompt types you will use inside a business environment, and we will look at the patterns that make prompts predictable, reusable, and effective. This lesson is designed to expand your range as a prompt engineer. Most people think prompting is just typing into ChatGPT, but professionals understand that prompts fall into specific categories, and each category produces a different type of output. When you know how to choose the right type, your accuracy and consistency improve dramatically. We're going to walk through the most important prompt types used in business environments. As you go through these, think about which ones you're already using, which ones you haven't explored, and which ones could strengthen your workflows. Let's look at the core prompt types you'll be working with. Number 1, fillable base prompts. These are the foundational templates you can reuse. You fill in the blanks with new details each time, and the prompt produces a consistent result. They are perfect for systematizing tasks you perform regularly. Fillable base prompts are one of the most powerful prompt types in business settings because they transform your work from one-off prompting into a repeatable system. A fillable base prompt is a template with defined sections and placeholders. Instead of rewriting a new prompt every time, you simply drop in new details. This solves two major problems. First, inconsistency. When you prompt from scratch every time, your results vary wildly. Second, wasted time. Rewrite the same instructions over and over again, and you multiply your workload. Fillable base prompts eliminate both issues because the structure stays the same while the variable details change. Professionals use these templates for anything they do repeatedly. Client emails, coaching reflections, social media posts, lesson outlines, workflows, reports, project briefs, content rewrites, summaries, scripts, and so much more. The results framework is the perfect framework to help you with creating fillable base prompts. In the previous practice lab, you had examples of it. Included in your workbook under this video are additional fillable base prompts you can use in your business. Number 3, persona prompts. These give the model a personality or perspective. For example, asking it to act as a supportive coach, a strategic consultant, or a calm customer service representative. Personas shift tone, language, and emotional framing. Number 4, role-play prompts. These place the model inside a simulated scenario. For example, act as a difficult customer so I can practice responding professionally. Role-play prompts are excellent for training, communication practice, and building scripts. Number 5, chain of thought prompts. Chain of thought prompts are one of the most powerful tools we have when accuracy truly matters. Instead of asking the model to jump straight to an answer, these prompts tell the model to show its reasoning process step by step. When you ask AI to explain how it reached a conclusion, something important happens. the model slows down. It becomes more deliberate, more analytical, and far less likely to skip over details or make assumptions. Think of it like watching someone work out a math problem on paper instead of blurting out the answer. You can actually see the logic unfold. This is especially valuable in situations where the wrong output creates problems, like analyzing data, summarizing complex information, making comparisons, evaluating decisions, troubleshooting, or breaking down processes. When the model thinks out loud by walking through the logic, it catches errors it would normally overlook. For example, instead of saying, write an action plan, a chain of thought prompt might say, before writing the action plan, walk through your reasoning. Explain the factors you're considering, identify the goals, list the constraints, and then show how you arrived at your recommendations. That chain of thought provides transparency, depth, and a level of accuracy you simply can't get with a quick one-step answer. When students learn to ask for the model's reasoning, their outputs immediately improve. They get cleaner insights, more reliable recommendations, and results that feel human in their thoughtfulness. Chain of thought prompting doesn't just give you an answer, it reveals the thinking behind the answer. And that extra layer of explanation becomes incredibly valuable when you're making decisions, presenting information to stakeholders, or validating whether the output is actually correct. Once you experience chain of thought prompting, you'll notice that AI becomes not just a tool, but a true thinking partner. Number 6. Workflow prompts. Workflow prompts are another one of the powerful and practical prompt types you'll use in a business environment because they mirror the way real tasks happen in the real world, not in one step, but in a series of connected steps. Most business tasks are not single actions. They involve analyzing something, then transforming it, then presenting it in a final format. Workflow prompts allow you to string these steps together so the model performs the entire chain of actions for you automatically and in the correct sequence. Instead of giving the model one instruction at a time, a workflow prompt says, do this, then this, then this, creating a smooth, repeatable process. For example, you might tell the model, analyze this customer feedback, then categorize the main themes, then write a summary of those themes, then propose recommendations, then format everything in a table. That single prompt replaces 4 or 5 separate interactions you would normally have to run manually. The reason workflow prompts are so foundational is that businesses survive and scale on systems, not single tasks. When you use workflow prompts, you're building mini automations that take a complicated process and turn it into one consistent, reliable flow. This means your social media process, your email process, your research process, your content creation workflow, your SOP creation, all of it can be run through AI as a predictable, step-by-step system. Workflow prompts reduce decision fatigue, eliminate repetitive prompting, ensure consistency across your operations, and save hours of manual work. When you learn to build workflow prompts, you stop using AI like a toy and start using it like a true operational tool. It becomes a digital team member that doesn't forget steps, doesn't miss details, and doesn't get tired. Workflow prompts are the backbone of scalable AI systems, and once you know how to create them, you unlock a level of efficiency most people never experience. Number 7, zero-shot prompts. Zero-shot prompts are the simplest type of prompt because they ask the model to perform a task without giving any examples or demonstrations to follow. You're essentially handing the model a task and trusting that it already has enough general knowledge to understand what to do. This works well when the task is common, straightforward, or something the model has seen millions of times during training. For example, if you say, write a professional email explaining a shipping delay, the model already understands what a professional email is, what a shipping delay is, and how to combine those elements into a complete answer, all without you providing any samples. Zero-shot prompting is incredibly useful when you want a quick response and you don't need a very specific style, structure, or format. It lets you move fast because there's no need for setup or explanation. Instead of crafting a detailed prompt or feeding examples into the model, you rely on its broad knowledge to generate something reasonable right away. This is great for brainstorming, draft creation, rewriting, summarizing, light analysis, and general business tasks where perfection isn't required on the first pass. However, it's important to understand the trade-off. Zero-shot prompts give the model freedom, but that freedom can lead to inconsistency. If you want precision, consistency, or a very specific output style, zero-shot prompting may not be enough. But when you simply want the model to get started, to produce a quick idea, a rough draft, or a general overview, zero-shot prompting is fast, efficient, and often surprisingly accurate. It's the prompt type you reach for when you want an immediate response without needing to guide the model step by step. Number 8, few-shot prompts. Few-shot prompts are incredibly powerful because they allow you to teach the model exactly what kind of output you want by giving it a few examples to learn from. Instead of relying on the model's general knowledge, you show it 1, 2, or 3 samples that demonstrate the pattern, tone, structure, or style you want it to follow. This approach dramatically increases consistency because the model isn't guessing anymore. It's imitating the specific format you've shown it. Think of few-shot prompting as giving the model training wheels. You provide a couple of examples, and the model uses those examples as a blueprint to create the next one. If you want all your emails to sound a certain way, or you want your social media captions to match a particular brand voice, or you want the model to follow a specific outline, few-shot prompting is the perfect approach. You're essentially saying, here's the pattern, do it like this. This also works beautifully for structured content. For example, if you give the model 2 examples of how you summarize a meeting, your style, your wording, your format, it will replicate that same style when summarizing the next meeting. The same applies to product descriptions, coaching session notes, journal prompts, lesson summaries, customer service responses, and almost anything that has a repeatable structure. The beauty of few-shot prompting is that you only need a couple of examples to completely shift the model's output. You don't have to write a long explanation. You don't have to over-engineer the prompt. You simply say, here are a few examples. Now create one more that follows this exact pattern. It's one of the fastest and most reliable ways to train the model on your personal or business style. And it works whether you're building content systems, brand voice libraries, templates, or internal documentation. Once you understand few-shot prompting, you realize you can teach the model almost anything by simply showing it the pattern you want repeated. Number 9, multi-shot prompts. Multi-shot prompts take the idea of few-shot prompting even further. Instead of giving the model just 1 or 2 examples, you provide several samples that demonstrate the exact structure, tone, formatting, and level of detail you want the model to reproduce. These prompts are especially useful when the output you need is complex, specialized, or highly specific. The more examples you give, the stronger the pattern becomes, and the more precisely the model can match your expectations. Think of multi-shot prompting like training a new team member. If you show them 1 example, they'll get close. If you show them 2, they'll get even closer. But if you show them 5 or 6 carefully selected examples, their ability to copy your style becomes almost perfect. The same thing happens with AI. You're not just telling it what you want, you're demonstrating it through repetition. And because the model is designed to detect patterns, it learns incredibly quickly by comparing the examples you give and identifying the shared structure among them. Multi-shot prompting is especially powerful for tasks where you want output that looks identical every time, such as branded content, assessment questions, journal prompts, customer service responses, curriculum patterns, product descriptions, or format-specific writing. If the task has rules, structure, or predictable components, multi-shot prompting trains the model to internalize those rules without you having to explain them one by one. The real value of multi-shot prompting is consistency. When the model sees multiple examples, it becomes far less likely to drift, improvise, or create something that falls outside your desired format. It stays anchored to the pattern you've taught it. That's why multi-shot prompting is one of the most powerful techniques for advanced prompt engineers. It allows you to teach the model with examples instead of instructions, producing reliable results even for complex or nuanced tasks. Once you start using multi-shot prompting, you'll see how easy it is to train AI to write exactly the way you want it to every single time. Number 10, meta prompts. Meta prompts are one of the most advanced and transformative prompt types you can use because they're not about performing a task, they're about improving the prompt itself. In other words, meta prompts are prompts about prompting. Instead of asking the model to write an email or summarize a document, you ask the model to help you create, refine, or strengthen the prompt that will eventually produce that email or summary. This is where prompting becomes a strategic skill rather than a mechanical one. With meta prompts, you move beyond simply telling AI what to do. You invite it into the design process. For example, if you're building a workflow and you're not sure what details the model needs, you can ask, generate a list of questions I should answer before designing this workflow. Or if you have a prompt that feels too vague or inconsistent, you can say, improve this prompt and explain what structural changes you made. The model immediately steps into the role of a prompt engineer and begins showing you how to craft clearer instructions, stronger constraints, and more effective context. Meta prompts are incredibly powerful because they strengthen your thinking as a creator. They force you to slow down and look at the architecture of your prompt. What's missing? What's unclear? What assumptions am I making that the model can't see? When you ask the model to help you identify gaps, improve clarity, or propose a better structure, you become a more strategic communicator. You stop treating AI like a task doer and start using it as a collaborator and design partner. This is why meta prompts are essential in professional environments. They help refine workflows, troubleshoot inconsistencies, build reusable templates, and elevate the overall quality of your prompting systems. They turn AI into a coaching tool that improves your instructions, sharpens your reasoning, and expands your creative options. Once you start using meta prompts, you'll find that your prompts become more effective, more predictable, and significantly more powerful because you're no longer guessing what the AI needs. You're designing with precision. Prompting patterns overview. Now that you understand the different types of prompts, let's take a moment to talk about prompting patterns. Prompting patterns are the mental shortcuts or frameworks that help you instantly recognize which prompt type is best suited for the task in front of you. Instead of starting from scratch every time or trying to guess what the model needs, prompting patterns allow you to look at a task and say, oh, this is a situation where a persona prompt works best, or this needs a workflow prompt, or this is a great place for a few-shot example. Prompting patterns are what separate casual AI users from skilled prompt engineers. A casual user treats every task the same way and hopes for a good output. A professional looks at the structure of the task, identifies the pattern, and then selects the matching prompt type with intention. For example, if the task requires consistency across multiple outputs, such as recurring emails, weekly reports, or lesson summaries, then the pattern points you toward a fillable-based prompt. If the task requires emotional nuance, like responding to a frustrated customer or writing with a specific tone, then you would choose a persona prompt because it helps you shape the voice and energy of the writing. If the goal is deeper accuracy or logical decision making, your pattern recognition tells you to reach for a chain of thought prompt because you want to see the reasoning behind the answer instead of accepting a quick guess. And if the task mirrors a real business process, something with multiple stages that always happen in a sequence, then your pattern points you toward a workflow prompt because you want the model to run through all the steps automatically instead of relying on you to prompt each one manually. When you start recognizing these patterns, prompting becomes significantly easier and far more reliable. You stop wasting time experimenting, and instead, you engineer your prompts the same way you design a business system, with clarity, structure, and intention. Great prompt engineers don't rely on trial and error. They classify the task, select the pattern that matches it, and apply the prompt type most likely to produce the outcome they want. This is how you build predictable professional AI output every single time. Now it's your turn to practice. You will take one task and convert it into 6 different prompt types. This exercise helps you understand how each type shapes the output. Choose a simple, everyday business task, something like write a follow-up email after a meeting, or summarize a client call, or draft a social media post. Then convert that same task into a fillable base prompt, an instructional prompt, a persona prompt, a role-play prompt, a chain of thought prompt, a workflow prompt. Once you've created all 6, identify which type produces the best result for that particular task. There is no wrong answer here. The goal is to help you see the strengths and limitations of each prompt type and begin recognizing patterns in your own work. In this lesson, you've learned the major prompt types and how they function. You've also seen how prompt patterns help you pick the right approach for each business need. This is foundational to what we're building next, because in the upcoming lessons, you'll start turning these prompt types into full operational workflows, systems that save time, support decision-making, and scale across your business. When you understand prompt types, you stop guessing and start engineering.